to Deadly Dames. So recently Claire and I have gone back to a Stephen King book that we both really enjoyed. The last time I think we both read this was probably 12, when we were both about 12 or 13 years old.
Oh no, I read it again when I was in my late teens, I think.
Oh right, okay, so I'm completely wrong. But the last time I read this, I was about 12 years old. And when you're that young, so it's about Carrie, you don't actually really appreciate a lot of what happens in this, and that's kind of what happened to me. This is my original book, as you can tell. It's a bit battered, but you can still read it. And I've just finished this, I think, about 2 weeks ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. So this actually prompted me to watch the original Brian De Palma movie, but not just that, we actually rewatched watched for the first time the made-for-TV 2002 movie. I was going to rewatch the 2013 one, which I watched I think last year, the year before, but I couldn't find it on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and I wasn't going to rebuy it because I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I kind of still remember it, so I'm going to memory with that one. But we decided to do a review of all the Carries from the book right up to the remake, but as I said, I wasn't able to rewatch the remake because I couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm going to memory with that one. So we're going to start off firstly by talking about the book. So we'll tell you a wee bit about what Carrie is for anybody that doesn't know the storyline. So Carrie's
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. We can't review Carrie without actually spoiling it. There's no way to do it. So Carrie is about is she 16?
I think she's 16. She's quite late for starting her period because the rest of the girls have already started, but she hasn't.
So it's about a 16-year-old who's brought up with an over-religious mother who doesn't want Carrie to grow up. Basically, she wants her to not be tainted by womanhood. So she tells her nothing about growing up. And the book starts with her having I want to say communal. It is communal shower scene.
It's a communal shower at school.
And she starts her period for the first time, and all the girls notice that Carrie is freaking out because she thinks that she's dying, and they start throwing tampons and sanitary products at her and basically bullying her and shouting "plug it up." And the teacher notices what's going on, but at first she thinks that Carrie's just being hysterical because she thinks, how can somebody who's 16 not know what a period is? And then she realises that Carrie's actually thinks that she's dying. But also Carrie is telekinetic.
Mm-hmm. She has
telekinetic
powers.
I keep saying telekinetic because we jokingly say that.
Because in the book, she's always had like a little bit of power, and then there's certain big events in her life where she's had it's like big massive surges of power, but I think that the power doesn't really come to like full bloom until she starts her period, until she hits womanhood.
Yeah, but whenever she's going through massive trauma or stress or fear or anger, that's when it fully shows itself.
But it seems to be after she starts her period, after she becomes
that it really manifests itself.
That it starts to really come into full bloom.
So that's where the story starts. But she's severely bullied at school, and she's not just bullied at school, she goes through severe trauma at home because her mum is... I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it.
She's an overbearing, very religious woman, but she is abusive.
And the whole town knows that her mum abuses her, and nobody does anything about it. I mean, when the gym teacher takes her to the vice principal's office, and the vice principal says, doesn't she know about this? Everybody's whispering, oh, it's Margaret White's daughter. So they all know that Carrie's mistreated at home, but nobody does anything about it. So this girl's life is crap. She's bullied at school, she has no friends, and her mum treats her like rubbish. So her life is horrible.
But then this traumatic thing happens to her at school, which is obviously very humiliating. She goes home to her mother, who punishes her for starting her period and tells her that she's sinned.
And to get in the cupboard and pray.
And she shuts her in this cupboard with no windows and leaves her in there for, well, it does say in the book that she's, at one time she was in there for so long that she'd peed herself. But so she doesn't get any sympathy at home. This happens to her, obviously it's very traumatic. She goes home and her mum basically lays into her, for starting her period.
Well, you meet some other characters in the book, the girls that pick on her, and obviously the teacher that interferes, but stops it. One of the girls is Sue, who, once the teacher stops the bullying, feels really guilty for what she did, because she doesn't actually realise when she starts throwing the tampons and the sanitary products that Carrie doesn't know what her period is.
I think she got caught up from the. I'm taking this from the book that Sue gets caught, like she does hang around with the bitchy lasses.
Chris is the main one,
and Chris is the ringleader, and she does hang around with them, and I think she's probably not as bad as they are, but she does get caught up in it, which to me, I mean, she's just as guilty that she gets caught up in it. It's almost like, pardon the pun, but like a bloodlust, that she gets caught up in taunting Carrie, and then I think when she realises, oh shit, what have I done, and oh my god, she doesn't actually know what her period is, that's when she starts to feel guilty. And I think her guilt is genuine in the book, and we'll talk about this later on, but in the films you're not so sure that she's so much guilty for Carrie or more for like how she's made herself look to other people.
And then you've got the character of Chris, who is a genuine bitch. That's the only way to describe her. She's like the ringleader of bullies. And then you've got obviously Sue. They're the main ones. There are other characters that kind of tipped over and about the friends. Like there's Norma, which we'll kind of touch on later when it comes to the films. And then there's like Sue and Chrissy's boyfriends. So there's Tommy and Billy. And then the main one's the teacher. I can't say the teacher's name, it's really long.
Desjardins.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. And they're the kind of main characters that are in it. So Desjardins, I'm glad you said that. She looks out for Carrie because she obviously realises that Carrie's in a really terrible situation at home, because her mum didn't tell her what her period is, and also that the kids are badly bullying her. So Desjardins kind of pulls the girls up that did this to her and basically tells her, and especially Chris, tells them that she wanted to ban them from the prom, but the vice principal and the school and stuff said that they have to do detention, and it's her detention. But Chris is like, no, I'm not doing it. So she gets banned from the prom and instantly hates Carrie for this. And that's when she takes a vengeance,
she kind of does.
I was going to say takes a, what's the word I'm looking for?
She has a vendetta.
Vendetta, yeah, Carrie. She has a vendetta against Carrie from that moment.
Even though it was her fault, but she doesn't see it as Carrie's fault that she got banned.
And Sue's basically just like, well, we deserve it because we did that to Carrie. And all the other girls basically want to go to the prom, so they take their punishment because they want to go. And Sue, because she feels so guilty, and this is what I like, is like Sue's boyfriend Tommy in the book, you can clearly tell that he loves his girlfriend, and Sue, you can kind of tell it's just like a high school romance. But Tommy, you can tell he thinks his relationship with Sue is going to be forever, whereas Sue's just kind of like, this is a high school romance. But because she feels so guilty for what they did to Carrie, thinks that it'll be good for Carrie to go to the prom and feel, because Carrie just wants to belong, she wants to be normal, and I think Sue kind of gets that, and she thinks that it'll be good for Carrie to go to the prom and feel like she belongs and has friends. And she asked Tommy to take Carrie to the prom, to ask Carrie to go. And Tommy, because he loves Sue so much, and you understand that, and you believe it in the story, in the novel, he says yes. And they go, and that's how the story goes, they go to the prom. And Chris, because she hates Carrie so much, because she blames her for not being able to go to the prom, and she asks her boyfriend, who you totally understand in the book, is bad news. Like, you get that he would
he's
just...
dangerous.
He's
Really
dangerous. Like, he actually says at one stage in the novel that when they decide to do the bad trick, which is obviously to go and kill a pig and get the pig's blood, to dump on whoever's king and queen at the prom, he actually says that he doesn't care who's king and queen at the prom. He was going to drop it on whoever it was, even if it was Chris. That's how bad this guy is. He doesn't care if it's Carrie. He just wants to drop it on whoever. Whereas Chris wants it to be Carrie, and she rigs it so that it is Carrie. And that's kind of like where we lead up to. And Carrie's, when her name's called at the prom, when they rig it and her name is called and she is the queen of the prom, and then her mum, who says to her that she doesn't want her to go to the prom, because, you know, that's when all it leads to is sex and you're not going, and Carrie's like used her powers to basically say to her mum, I'm going, you know, like I can do what I want, and her mum's kind of scared of Carrie, you know, like she thinks that Carrie's a witch and basically has no choice. Carrie's going to do what she wants at this stage, but her mum knows, and her mum says they'll laugh at you, you know, I'm right, they don't like you, and Carrie's like adamant that Tommy likes her, and
she says things are going to change. I think Carrie actually thinks that at that point that her life is going to change, and that is a starting point for things getting better for her.
And then when she goes to the prom and her name is called, and she's actually, you know, she's happy for once in her whole life, and then the prank is played on her and the blood falls on her, and she's truly and utterly devastated. And you believe that in the book, like her whole dreams shatter. And when that happens to her, she decides, like, the world falls apart, and you believe it, like, you absolutely truly believe it in the book. She walks out, she jumps off the stage, and everybody's laughing at her, and she actually falls, and she walks out the school, and she blows all the fire hydrants.
She was quite methodical though,
yeah,
because she basically ruins any chances of like any fires being put out. So she destroys all the fire hydrants, and I think she takes all the fuel pumps off their stands, doesn't she, and starts them running.
And
so
she turns
already
like gas up, so it's up high.
So already she has it in her mind that she's just going for all out destruction, and
then she goes back to the school, and from the outside, she shuts the doors using her mind, and she kills everybody in the gym. But because she's doing everything, like she's destroying all the fire hydrants in the town, and she's turning all the gas and everything up in the town, and she's holding the doors shut in the gym, because she doesn't actually go back into the gym.
Not in the book, no. She just watches through the window. She
doesn't. Her mind slips a couple of times, and a few people escape, including the vice principal and the gym teacher, and a couple of the kids escape. So a few people do survive, which she does in the school. And what I like in the book as well is that Sue doesn't go to the school. She's actually staying at home. But when everything starts happening, something in Sue's mind makes her think that something's going on, so she leaves the house.
And I think it's at that point that she sees the flames, isn't it? Like
she crashes her car.
Because I think she knows that the flames are coming from the school, and everybody, like in the book, everyone knows that it was Carrie, because everyone has it in their mind. Carrie, that's all they think about, but that's obviously because of Carrie's powers. They haven't just gone, well, they have gone a little out of control, but she does in the book, she does actually practice her telekinetic abilities, and she becomes very, very good at it. But I think at that point it's almost like she's got every strand of thought is going everywhere at once, as Mandy says, so it's chaos.
It is chaos, but she actually destroys the whole town. Like, she starts blowing up petrol stations, but because she's blowing all the water hydrants, there isn't any water to put everything that she's done out. The school's destroyed, the streets start burning, she pulls down electricity cables and starts electrocuting people. People start coming out to see what's going on, and everybody starts dying. At one stage, one of the characters, Norma's mum, and Norma's already dead in the school, she sees people in the street getting electrocuted, but she knows that if she runs that she'll die, so she stands still, and she's the only person in the street that doesn't die. And a lot of the book's actually told from the investigation's point of view, and it's survivors talking, and I like that. So it's only like, I think it's like a handful of survivors telling their side of the story, and they just knew that Carrie had done it, and they're saying to them, but how did you know? And they're saying, I don't know. And then Carrie goes back to her house and she kills her mum, but she crushes her mum's heart, but she knew she was going to go back into it, and then her mum's house burns down. And then she goes after Chris and Billy, because she knows that they did it.
I suppose in a way, now that you've mentioned it, it is almost like kind of poetic. So she crushes her mum's heart and then leaves her to burn in hell, because that's what Carrie has made the town. She's made it hell.
And then Sue,
I mean, it does make sense.
Sue just knows where to go to find Carrie. She knows, and Sue actually walks I think she walks 3 miles or something like that to get Carrie. And when she's being questioned by the police actually think that Sue's got something to do with it, because they're like, you just walked miles for no reason. And she's like, I don't know, I just knew to go there. And by the time she gets there, Carrie's already killed Chris and Billy, but Chris and Billy actually, Carrie's mum actually stabbed her in the back, so Carrie's hurt, but Chris and Billy actually knocked Carrie down as well, so she's dying. But the last thing that Carrie wanted to do was to die seeing the stars, but she had no strength left in her to turn over, and she thought when Sue arrived that Sue was arriving to laugh at her, because Sue had set up this date with Tommy, and she thought that Sue had done it on purpose. And she actually went into Sue's mind, and that's when she realised that Sue never done it. And she realised, Jesus, this wasn't a trick. Sue had nothing to do with it. And the last act of kindness was Sue turning Carrie over to see the stars. And that's how the book ended, and Carrie died. And I thought, wow. One thing I hated about the book was the last 2 pages, where Stephen King felt the need to show you that there was other people out there with the power of telekinesis, and I really didn't think that was needed.
No.
Because you kind of knew it, because Carrie had been investigating other people that had that power anyway. But I don't know why he put that in there. I didn't think it was needed, those last 2 pages, but the book is amazing.
It's a really good book, and I know when you read it young, you maybe don't appreciate all of it, but I think for especially a lot of lasses who are, because most lasses are in their very, very early teens when they do start their period, and I think that the feelings around that, a lot of people can relate to Carrie in the book, a lot of people, and I think any woman or lassie who's, it's just it'd be your worst nightmare to have that happen in the shower. A communal shower at school would be bad enough, but I think if you didn't know what it was, and then the embarrassment of realising that everybody knew what it was apart from you, and you thought you were dying, it is horrible.
And then we watched De Palma's movie. Now, I think that Brian De Palma's a very talented director. This is obviously the Arrow box set that we've got. It's a very good transfer, actually, very good box set.
Aye, the picture quality was brilliant.
I think that his opening sequence and the end sequence are very, very good. And Claire and I were actually discussing this, because it's almost like he's done a summary of the book. The opening sequence, which we said has got a lot of naked women in it, it really does. It's got a lot of naked women in it. It's a good, because it's 98 minutes, this film, and it's almost like, because it's not like today where movies are 2.5 hours long. Back in, I think this is done in the 70s, yeah. Back in the 70s, movies were standard 98 minutes or 80 minutes long, and they did kind of have to take a novel. And I know Carrie's not the longest novel in the world, but they did have to take a novel like that and had to squash it down to get everything into a 98 minutes. But it does feel like a summary of the book when you watch this.
I think it is an excellent film, and I think they get a lot of the feel of the book in the film.
There is a few bits.
And I still really enjoy the film, but if you watch it just after reading the book, you do feel like it's almost like a summary, because it moves so quickly.
The opening's long, and the ending's long, but everything in between is quick. There's a couple of bits in it that we thought right, we don't like, not that we don't like, but there was a couple of bits that made us kind of scratch our head. One bit was the Tommy and Sue.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really get that Tommy and Sue actually really were a believable couple in this. As you said, like, Sue in this one, you didn't really get the impression that when Sue did the act of, like, taunting Carrie, when she actually decided to ask Tommy to take Carrie to the prom, you got the impression that she was doing it to make herself feel better, not because she wanted Carrie to feel good. Also, you never really got the impression in this one that Tommy was that great a guy. In the book, you got the impression that Tommy actually was a genuine, really, really nice guy. In this book, I'm not saying that Tommy wasn't a nice guy, but you got the impression he was more of a Jack the Lad.
No, I know what you mean.
Also, in this one as well, you didn't really get the feeling that Tommy genuinely really, really loved Sue. So if that was the case, why did he go to the prom with Carrie? That's just our personal opinion. There was also a scene in this one where the gym teacher, and she wasn't called Shannon in this, and I can't remember what she was called.
She was Des Jordan in the book.
Oh, Des Jordan, I keep calling her the wrong name.
They called her something different in the film. Can't remember what it was.
But she takes Tommy and Sue into her room because she thinks that they're taking the piss out of Carrie by Sue asking Tommy to take Carrie to the prom. And she's questioning what their motives. And Norma, who we believe is perfectly cast in this movie, because there's a scene in the book where at the prom Norma's character's like chewing bubblegum and basically taking the mickey out of Carrie, and that exact scene happens in this, and PJ Souls is definitely the perfect casting choice for Norma.
Yeah, she was.
Because as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh god, PJ Souls is perfect casting. But she comes in right at the end of the conversation in this, and I just didn't really believe that she heard enough of the conversation to pick up that Tommy was going to the prom with Carrie. And then straight after that scene, you see Chris and Billy going to get the pig's blood. So, and like, I think you're supposed to believe that Norma heard that conversation, and that Norma went and told Chris, and that's why Chris was going to get the pig's blood to go and dump on Carrie. But there was a lot of that left to assumption.
I mean, it does follow the book. Well, I was going to say quite closely. It kind of follows the book, but it skims over like the relationship between Tommy and Sue, and even the relationship between Chris and Billy, the guy that she's seen. Like it kind of touches on it a wee bit. There isn't a hell of a lot of character building, as we were saying. We were talking about that earlier on. But I think you get the gist of it, and it is quite...
It's just really fast-paced.
But I think to fit all... Well, or to get as much as you can from the book into the film, it kind of does need to be fast-paced. I mean, the opening scene is a really important scene to set up the whole film, so...
That's in it.
It makes sense.
But there was one thing that we
long.
hated, and the one thing we hated more than anything is the kiss. So, if Tommy really cared about Sue, so much so that he agreed to take Carrie to the prom, and if Tommy was made out to be this really, really nice character, and he was doing this amazing, lovely thing by taking Carrie to the prom for his girlfriend to do this good deed, then why did he kiss Carrie at the prom?
But it was during a dance, and I think you're supposed to think that he got caught up in the moment. I don't know.
It's still
but that
wrong
didn't make
though, because he's leading Carrie on.
I agree.
And he's backstabbing his girlfriend.
I agree, that didn't make any sense. So that wasn't in the book. And I think it wouldn't have made any sense in the book. And it doesn't really make any sense in the film, because you think, well, it is leading her on a wee bit.
It's leading her on, and it's also wrong for Sue.
But in the book, I don't think Carrie ever gets the impression that anything could happen between her and Tommy. I think...
They don't even dance in the book.
No, they don't even... Like, there's nothing like that in the book. So... I did think it was a bit...
It was out of place, the kiss, and it didn't feel right. Also, like, as we said in this movie, Sue doesn't stay at home. She does go to the prom, and now we can understand why she does go, because it was important for her to be in that scene. It would probably be more difficult to have her staying at home. And it was important probably to highlight that somebody does pick up that it is going to be a prank. And I think it would probably be more important that it was Sue that seen it, and then the teacher throws her out just before the prank goes off. And that's what saved her life. But I think it highlights that Sue probably did send Carrie to the prom more for herself, so that she could see, oh, there's my good deed, then rather than, you know, to do the right, than doing it for Carrie's sake. That was our only little things, but we loved it when you see what happens to Carrie, because, no, that sounds terrible, but Sissy Spacek is like the perfect casting choice for her, because although she differs from what the Carrie character's like in the book, because she is a heavier set character, like a heavier build girl, she's unusual.
I think looks wise she's very different from how she's portrayed in the book, but I think she did get it right that there is, like, you gather that there's an awkward kind of sweetness to Carrie.
Sorry, I need water.
And as much as she's kind of treated like a bit of an ugly duckling, that she's actually not. She isn't ugly at all. Like, Carrie is actually quite. You gather she could be quite a nice person and friendly, and like you gather that, like, under that awkwardness there is like kind of swan underneath.
But it's the devastation that she does when the prank actually happens. I think she pulls it off.
I think
when we talk about the other movies, out of all of the movies, she pulls off that devastation better than anybody.
You do see it in her face as soon as the blood hits her, that, and then she realises what it is, that her whole world, you can see just, all you can see is her eyes because she's covered in blood, but you can see it in her eyes that her whole world is just shattered. And
I think that I love that sequence where you actually see everything turning.
It's like a kaleidoscope of images and folks.
And you hear Piper Laurie as our mum saying that we're all gonna laugh at you. But over the top of that, you hear the lines of the other characters, like the gym teacher and the vice principal saying her name wrong, and you hear it all looping over each other. I mean, that's perfectly shot.
It's
and
like it does
before the
like,
carnage starts.
I think it does capture the feel that everything shitty that's been said and happened, it all just comes together at that one point, and then she just, it's like she explodes, isn't it?
I think what De Palma did, which was right, because obviously in the book Carrie doesn't go back into the gym. I think that in paper that looks good, and in paper you can have everybody in the town knowing that it was Carrie, but on film visually you kind of have to see that, and I think De Palma did the right move by having her stay in the gym, and by having all the carnage that she creates and all the revenge that she has happen. You had to see it, you had to have her standing there, and you had to have that all happen round about her. So I think he did 100% the right move by having that, her there, and by having it all happen, and by her walking through it. That had to happen with her there, and I think he made the right choice. I also think that, like, in the book, the teacher doesn't die and a few people escape, but I think when you realise that, and I know the teacher did try and help her, but when you realise the devastation, I think when you think that everybody's laughing at you and your mum, but your mum said they were all going to laugh at you, I think you would kill everybody. I think you would just see blind, and I think you would just go and kill everybody, and I think that's what Carrie did. I also think that his ending, where how she kills her mum, was a good ending.
I thought it was a good ending.
When she was locked in the cupboard, obviously that's how she's seen.
There was a really creepy looking. I don't even know if it was. I'm sure in the book it was Saint somebody or other. I don't know who, but in the film it's like a Jesus with loads of.
No, Saint something.
Is it still Saint? Oh, anyway, it's and it looks like he's crucified, and at the end of the film, like, she uses her telekinetic powers to fling knives at her mum after her mum stabs her. To fling knives at her mum and basically pins her to the door frame, and then I thought it was it was creepy, but I think it actually poetic. Fit the character of Margaret White quite well, that as she was dying she was like, it almost like she was rejoicing in a way, because she probably saw herself as being martyred, and she was probably just thinking, I'm going to get into heaven for this.
I know.
You know, but I think, Margaret White, I think she thinks that everything that she does is correct and justified.
And I thought it was good that she pulled her mum into, like, the cupboard, the praying cupboard, and then the whole house fell down round about them. I thought
it was quite a sad... I thought it was both the film and the book did have quite a sad end for Carrie, but I think...
It was almost like, and it's just going to sound like a strange comparison, but, you know, it's a bit like Frankenstein's monster.
Well, I was going to say the scene from Rocky Horror Picture
I
Show.
nearly said that.
When Dr. Frankenfurter gets shot and Rocky's like...
But that is Frankenstein's monster, you know? Because she created a monster, and that sounds horrible, but
I still can't. But this is how I think, you know, you've got a good book when you can still kind of debate and talk about it. And I personally don't see Carrie as a monster.
She's not, but her mum
didn't
abused
help
her.
Her
to
mum
the
helped
stage where Carrie was so down and trodden that if Carrie hadn't been that down when she and bullied and abused at home and at school, she had nothing left. Like, she had nothing. So see if she hadn't have been that low, when that happened, maybe she'd have just laughed it off because she was going home to a loving family.
I think her mum did help create.
But she wasn't going home to anything.
No.
Like, if that happened to you, but you knew you were going home to somebody who cared.
In the book, she wasn't going home to anything, but in the film, they actually had Carrie going home, and she didn't destroy the town. She went straight home, and I think she encounters Chris and her boyfriend in the car, and
they tried to knock her down.
But she causes him to swerve, and that's what kills him. But in the film, obviously, she goes home, and she washes the blood off and she goes to her mum for comfort.
And her mum stabs her.
And I thought that was quite sad, but I also thought that was a good ending as well. I think I prefer the ending of the book, but I think if you could have taken how she killed Margaret from the film and had that in the book, where, you know, just after she destroyed the town, I think that would have been quite good.
Well, but I loved the De Palma movie. I think there's a lot in it that's really good. I think the middle is very, very rushed, but you can see why you had to do that for the time frame that you had. The mini-series, I think it was in 2002, is probably the one which is most like the book, but they obviously had more time to play with. It's done, retold very much in flashbacks like the book. I think the casting choice was pretty good as well, because they had Angela Bettis playing Carrie.
She's a really good choice for Carrie.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen May, but she can play very socially awkward and very strange is the only way to describe it. She can play that really well, but she's also quite pretty in the same sense. So I thought she was very, very good as Carrie. They also have like Catherine Isabel, and Emily DeRaven plays Chris. She plays Chris very well, actually.
She played a really good bit.
I
think she was quite convincing as being a right nasty.
She was really good as playing like a right nasty bitch, is the nicest way of doing it. But
we were talking about this earlier, and we thought that the relationship with Susan and Tommy was a bit more believable.
Because Tommy at first didn't want to go to the prom, and then Sue kind of kept going on at him, and then eventually went, okay, I'll do it. But he was a bit more believable as Tommy. But as I said, like, the miniseries was a lot more like the book. It was actually a lot longer. I think it was almost 2.5 hours long, that one. So it had a lot more in it.
I liked how they did keep the destruction of the town in the miniseries. I mean, that was probably one of the biggest. And it also had the
flashback
changes
to Carrie as a kid, which is in the book, where you see her mum and her having a bit of a fight when she's just a kid, and she actually makes things come down from the sky and almost destroy the house, which is not in the Palma one, but it's in the book.
I think when you're doing a mini-series, though, you do have a lot more time to put more things from the book in, because obviously when you're making like a shorter film, you probably have to cut quite a lot of things that you don't really want to, or maybe change some things so you can get the gist of what you're meaning into the story without having a 3-hour long film.
I know.
But I think the mini-series was actually not not that bad.
I enjoyed it. I thought
I
that they
don't-
picked a really good cast.
I don't think Margaret White was as fierce as she
No.
was in the De Palma film.
And she wasn't as fierce as what she was in the book. She played it a lot more.
Kind of mousy.
She wasn't as mousy as she is in the 2013 movie, but she was recluse. That's probably the best way to put it. But I thought she was still quite scary, not like Piper Laurie scary, because she's terrifying. But Piper Laurie was more of a going to your door, in your face kind of religion. But she was more recluse and kind of kept to herself. But she was kind of righteous as well. Like, she knew Carrie was going to come back home, and she knew that it was going to go wrong for her. I didn't really like in the miniseries that they changed how, because Carrie, she dies in the miniseries, and it's just, we did say spoilers, and she's brought back to life by Sue, which I didn't really like. For the time that the miniseries was done, which was in 2002, it was round about like the Buffy phenomenon.
I think Buffy was probably on its maybe last couple of seasons by then, so there probably was a market to have something similar.
And I think they were kind of hoping that they could maybe turn this into like an actual ongoing series. They had right at the end like maybe 3 or 4 jump scares, and I thought, oh, too many jump scares at the end of this. And I think they were kind of hoping they could turn, because Carrie survives, Sue saves her life. I think they were hoping, which I thought was a bit strange, because obviously Sue's life was devastated, because like Tommy died and her whole school died and all her friends pretty much died, and then Sue saves her life and becomes like our good pal.
And the thing is that, like, even when you're reading the book, you think, but you wish there was a way that Carrie could survive, but our life wouldn't have been any better if she had. Like, there was no way that she could have survived like the events of the book. Like, a character kind of had to die, I think.
And the miniseries is the only one as well where she kills her mum by crushing her heart. But her mum tries to drown her in the miniseries rather than stabbing her, which is how she does it in the book and how she does it in the Palmer movie. She tries to drown her in the bath in this one. I thought they kept, in the miniseries, they keep the prom pretty much the same, where she doesn't leave, she's inside the prom as well. The teacher survives. She actually manages to get a whole load of the kids out an air vent. But I thought that they kept, when she gets pig's blood dropped on her, she goes into a bit of a blind rage, doesn't she?
She does, but it's like a very quiet rage, and she doesn't. And I didn't like this as much as the De Palma film, because I wasn't convinced. Like with the De Palma film, you could see that Carrie's life was completely devastated and shattered, but in the miniseries, it was just like almost like I can't believe you did that to me, and then a silent rage. And
No.
I wasn't as convinced by that.
They also did a red herring moment in the miniseries where suddenly the blood doesn't drop and they go off and dance on the floor, and I was like,
and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And it's all kind of like a daydream sequence, which I really didn't like.
They also had Chris second guessing herself, where she almost doesn't drop the blood. I kind of liked it actually though, because it almost made you think, is Chris as much of a bitch as you think she is? But then in the second way, I thought, should they have done that? But
I don't know.
Kind of made her more human. They made Sue in the miniseries a little bit more snappy. When she was getting questioned by the police, but she's a wee bit like that in the book as well.
Got a bit of attitude.
But all in all, I actually quite enjoyed the miniseries, if I'm honest with you, because it is a little bit more in line with the actual book. It almost felt like I was watching a different movie from the De Palma one, so it was easier to watch because it was like 2 different things, because it is more like the book. But I actually enjoyed it. I think if you'd never read the book and you are a massive fan of the De Palma movie, you would probably not like the miniseries, because you'd think, what is this I'm watching? It's nothing like De Palma. But if you'd read the book, you'd be like, oh right, this is a lot like the book. And then that brings us to the 2013 movie. As I said, I haven't rewatched it because it wasn't on Netflix or Amazon.
I've never seen it.
So I'm going purely on memory. I like I liked the opening sequence to this one because they modernised it and they did make it more realistic in the sense that if you were in modern times and you did have the Carrie sequence where you had your period in a communal shower, they would film it and they would put it on the internet, and that's just how it would happen, which I thought was horrific because that's modern bullying. People film stuff. I mean, they film people sitting on buses, they film people sitting on trains, they film people doing all sorts of stuff and they put it on the internet because that is how people modern bully, and it's horrible. You could only imagine how horrific that would be if you were in Carrie's situation and you thought you were dying because you had your period. So I thought that was a really good way of modernising that situation. I don't think that the actress that they got to play Carrie, and this is just my personal opinion, was the right choice. I can't remember her name.
Chloe Grace Moretz.
I'm glad you're here. My personal opinion for this is because I could picture her playing more Chris than I could Carrie. I know she kind of looks... I know she could kind of play a little bit mousy as well as bitchy, but if you can imagine your lead actress that you've got playing Carrie, who's more socially awkward, also playing the bitch role, I don't think it's the right casting choice personally, and that's just my personal opinion. I think that Julianne Moore is a fantastic actress, and I do actually think that she's good as Margaret White, but I thought she played a bit of a mousy Margaret White. I mean, there's a particular scene I remember in the movie where Carrie goes home and like her mum was bashing her head against the wall, and I thought, that's not Margaret White to me. Like, Margaret White was righteous.
But then in the book though, Margaret White did do stuff like pull her hair, scratch herself, because when she wasn't getting her rise out of Carrie, when she couldn't get Carrie to stop doing what she was doing.
She does do that. She scratches herself.
She would do that because she knew that would get to Carrie, and then Carrie would be like, stop doing that, Mama. And stuff
but she was
like
also righteous as well.
She
though.
was,
But Julianne Moore's character really wasn't like this is purely going on memory though. I also thought the house looked like any house that you go into. I've always envisioned their house would have probably religious things about.
Well, in the book and in the De Palma film, there is a lot of religious, like, in the book, like, you gather that some of them are actually quite tacky. Like, there's a giant crucifix on one, like, almost the size of, like, from floor to ceiling.
Not a big massive, like that in the movie. But again, I'm going on memory, so I might be off with this. I don't think the casting of Chris was right. I just didn't believe that was my Chris, but that's just me. I didn't think that the way that they had her learning about her powers was quite right either. I'm not a big fan of CGI. I would have rather that they kind of kept it more practical. My biggest problem with the 2013 movie was it was almost like they were too afraid to go back to the source material and kind of take it from Stephen King's novel. I think it's tricky when a lot of modern audiences don't read, and I'm not saying that everybody doesn't read, but a lot of people, their version of Carrie is Brian De Palma's Carrie.
I think if you really enjoy the film though and you've never read the book, you should definitely give it a go, but I do know people that will not read the book, maybe in case it kind of taints like how they see the film that they really, really love. I'm not sure.
It won't not, but it'll give you an extra version of something that you love. But what I was meaning is, when you go to remake a movie and everybody loves this and not everybody knows this, it's very difficult for a director to go, right, I'm going to go back to the source material and I'm going to base it on this, because then when you make it, somebody's going to go, well, that's not the movie that I know. The movie that I know is this one. So I felt like the 2013 movie was just a remake of Brian De Palma's Carrie, and not actually a based on the novel of Stephen King. And that was the thing that kind of annoyed me more than anything, because it almost felt like it was scene for scene Brian De Palma's movie. I'm not saying 100% it was, but like even the end had Julianne Moore being crucified by like the spikes getting thrown, the knives getting thrown into her, and I felt like, I know that's a classic scene in Brian De Palma's movie, but that didn't mean he had to do the same scene.
Yeah.
He could have thought of something different. He could have went back to the source material and thought, well, what can I do that's different here?
Or he could have had the heart-crushing scene from the book but made it more dramatic.
So that, again, as I said, I'm going to memory because I couldn't rewatch it. I couldn't find it anywhere and I didn't want to buy it again. So, that's us. We've watched all the Carries. We've read the book. The last thing that we decided to do before we finish up was, because we spoke for ages about Carrie.
45 minutes and 3 seconds.
Was we decided that if, it's probably too soon because Carrie just came out in 2013, but if we seen a remake of Carrie, who would we like to see in the lead roles? No, we're not going to do all the characters, but in the lead roles of Carrie White and Margaret White. So, we had 2 Margaret Whites and we had 1 Carrie White. So our Margaret Whites, and we did the calculations for this and we discovered that it could still happen. So, age-wise, and I know she is 70, but if she had, now would you get the wording right for me this? So if she had a late in life baby.
So she could, before she hit menopause, she could have got pregnant.
So Kathy Bates, so it could happen because we calculated it. Kathy Bates could still, if she was cast just now, it could play Margaret White.
She'd be a terrifying Margaret White.
She would
terrifying.
Be. But if she had a late in life baby, she could still be Margaret White. Or we thought, I would love to see Melissa McCarthy in a serious role. I think she could pull off Margaret White.
You know what I think though? For the first few minutes, you maybe be waiting for the punchline, and then I think if she had a typical Margaret White outburst, you think, oh shit, okay, she isn't funny, and then you start to think her is being really, really scary because you're used to seeing her in like comedy roles, and I think that would actually be quite terrifying to see that.
So that's our 2. And then for Carrie White, we went for the actress from Stranger Things who played Barb, because if you were to go back to your source material, Carrie White is actually more of she's not perfectly skinny, and I know all the actresses that have played her have been quite skinny, but she's also quite a pretty girl. So we went for
her name is Shannon Purser.
Shannon Purser, because I don't know if you can make a picture bigger of her so people can see her.
I'll try to find a decent picture of her.
Just go to images.
Where is she as Barb? There.
So that's Shannon Purser from Stranger Things. I think she would play a perfect Carrie.
Because she is actually quite pretty, but I think she can play kind of awkward, and because we watched Sierra Burgess as a Loser on Netflix and we really enjoyed it, and I think she could play a really kind of mousy, quiet character that doesn't make waves, and I think she could pull it off. So yeah, that's our 2. She'd be a really good Carrie. I think she'd be perfect Carrie. But anyway, that's us. We read the book, we watched all the Carries. Apart from the 2015 one?
I think it's 13. I might be wrong.
We didn't watch
I
that.
might be wrong, but the most recent one, I have watched it, we just couldn't rewatch it. If you have watched them, let me know what's your favourite. I think if we were going to rate it, it would be De Palma's, which is my favourite. Actually, no, I'd probably pick the book over all of them, but De Palma's is my favourite movie. If you've read the book, if you've seen the movies, let us know what's your favourite and why. And please let us know if you were to remake it, who you would pick as your actresses and why. And if you've got any you would like in the other roles like Sue or Billy or Tommy, who you would pick as well. We've not went that far, we just picked the lead 2. And as always, I need to go and drink a ton of water because we've been talking for ages. So hopefully you've stuck with us for this full video. It was 3 movies and a book. Come on, it's going to be long. But yeah, we enjoyed rewatching them and we enjoyed reading the book. Hopefully you have too. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and take care.